Welcome to Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success podcast, providing business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs with the 3 Ins: insights, inspirations, and intentional actions. Delivered through monologues and dialogues, we address topics like leadership, productivity, time management, work-life balance, and challenges like stress, conflict, mental health, and much more. Please do not hold back from suggesting specific topics and guests you would like on this podcast. Greetings and welcome to this podcast episode. And this is, as you know, every second week I have a guest on, and this is a guest week. And it's a special guest this time because it's actually a colleague of mine. It is Cheryl, and let's all welcome Cheryl on board to this episode today and let her tell us a little bit more about herself.
Hi everyone, thanks Mikhail. So I thought I could have said all kinds of things about myself. What I've decided to focus on is the fact that I've always been really curious and interested in self-development. I've always had that question of, how do I think? Why do I do the things I do? How do I become a better version of myself? So that has happened right throughout my life and has been consistent regardless of what job I've been doing or where I've been living or who I've been living with, any of those things. It's always been the one consistent thing about me. Luckily for me, I get to do that for work these days, and because I'm a coach, just like you, Mika. So that's why we're colleagues together, right? I get to talk to people about what it is that they're interested in helping them grow, gain confidence, self-awareness, well-being at work and in life.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you so much for being here. And I know a little bit about you, and mental fitness, I know is a part of your journey as well. And yes, we are both coaches and love it because we get a chance to share some of those findings that we have discovered along the way in our own journeys. And I love that about coaching, that we can share our experiences rather than some theory out of a textbook somewhere. So I also guess, I know from my own life in this journey, it hasn't always been easy, and there's been challenges along the way. So as per usual, my first question in this podcast is for my guest to share a story or maybe two about somewhere along the way, and it can be decades ago or it can be a few days ago, a situation where you ended up in a not so desirable place, where things didn't quite go the way you wanted it to, and you can kind of go, well, that was because I did not have mental fitness at the time to meet the challenge the best way I could, or the ideal way. So have you got a story like that you're happy to share?
Yes. So for me, there have been times in my life when my emotions and particularly stress completely ruled me. So those have been it's made a bit of a curve like this throughout my life when those times have occurred, and they've shown up in different ways. So I remember when I was younger, I used to wake up feeling so tense and so stressed and thinking, oh no, it's happened today. And then that would rule my whole day, if not my week, if not my month. It would just kind of take over who I was. And I had a lot of difficulty shifting that state. And it would particularly happen because I love to achieve things and set my mind to tasks. So I'd, decide I'm going to get some qualification or something, and then I would just go all out. And that would rule everything I did. And as I did that, my intensity and my stress would build to a point that it became overwhelming. So that to me is lack of daily practice of mental well-being and having not having that mental fitness that is helpful at those in those times.
Mm.
So yeah, my key learning and all of that, because I used to do a lot of journaling and trying to getting back to this wanting to be better me. I'd start journaling, what's wrong with me, why am I so uptight, why am I so stressed, and kind of dig to try and figure it out. But all the awareness in the world wouldn't shift it.
Mm.
So it was mental fitness that was required, not just awareness. So that might be a starting
Mm.
point, but it takes more than that, right? It needs application.
Mm. Mm. Absolutely. Thank you for that. And the word there stood out for me is again stress. I guess I know that a lot of the people listening to this would experiencing stress as well. And for me, the way to overcome that stress is by growing our mental fitness. Because and you can correct me, I don't think as you grew your mental fitness along the way, it wasn't that stress then stopped showing up in your life. Would that be right?
Absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah. So it keeps coming back. And then that the more we practice and the more we work, well, you mentioned practice again, that with the mental fitness. So for me, it's more like like you might have stress level at this level, whatever level that is, and then if the mental fitness is below that, then as you say, it can go into days or even weeks where it keeps consuming your mind, and then you grow your mental fitness, and then stress at that level then do not get hold of you any longer. But then stress at this level does, and then we grow, and then stress at this level, and again, I think it's a beautiful thing is that I don't think there necessarily is an end to it unless you become enlightened, maybe, I don't know. But in the meantime, for me, the focus is just keep at it, because we can deal with bigger things. Have you got a specific story maybe of you from anywhere in the past where you ended up in a place of whether it was darkness or frustration or giving up, that you can see now if your mental fitness had been greater at that time, you would have done things differently?
Yeah, I mean, when I think back, there's been, again, when I'm talking about this curve, I can see points in time where things were not good. And, they showed for me and, that overwhelm. So things would happen like I'd get really sick or I'd get postnatal depression or, you know, um, I'd get so that I'd be really unhappy at work and just not enjoying my job and have to leave my job. So there's been different low points. Um, and I see now the pattern of that. And
Mm,
it's all about that not dealing with them in a mentally healthy way. I talk to my clients about, the gap between knowing and doing. I knew I wasn't happy, but I actually didn't know how
mm,
to do something about it. Because to
mm,
me, these days, it's all about the application. So I guess I've kind of almost made a choice not to think too much about those things, but just to look for the pattern in them, which is kind of, yeah, where I like to put my focus and use that to think, oh, Cheryl, and you're right, those stressful times come up just the same these days. I go, oh, there it is. I see it. Right. Now I've got some tools to do different in that moment so that I
mm,
don't get quite as low. So like you say, it kind of goes up a bit higher.
mm. Yeah, and another word coming in there, overwhelm. I guess is just another variation of stress, isn't it?
Yeah.
And but what I really like about what you're sharing there is that keep learning along the way and gaining that understanding. So I can't remember your exact words, but it's like you recognize because whatever our patterns are, whether it's stress or frustration or anger or irritation, it will tend to keep coming up. But the more mentally fit we become, the quicker we can catch it. So all I'm finding with my shit when it shows up, it still shows up. almost as often. But it just doesn't get a chance to stay for as long. And sometimes it doesn't even stay for more than a few seconds because of that practice. So let's get that message across to our audience today is practice. I know it's a swear word, but practice. Um, unless you've got another story you want to say about that, I'm happy for you to flick to the other side of the coin and tell a story of the other side where you achieved something, not because it was easy, but because it was hard, but you had the mental fitness to either go through with it, to stick with it, or when you fell off the horse, you got back on the horse, or whatever the story might be.
Yeah, thank you. So again, like I mentioned before, I can kind of set my mind to doing things. And so when I think about achieving, I have achieved things like get a degree, for example. And, I got so focused on that. I worked out my timetable for 3 years. So I knew what was happening when every assignment was due. I was working as well. And like it was crazy. So I can set my mind to things and achieve them. But what the difference with mental fitness is that it really helps me enjoy the journey a whole lot more so that I don't just keep building that stress, building that stress, building that
Mm,
stress, and then kind of burn out at the end of it. Actually, it's a whole different story. And what I now know is that, and like I mentioned to you, I like seeing patterns and things.
mhm,
So it's the patterns that help me see the change in mental fitness. And so an example of that is that I went, I was traveling as a consultant back to a place down the South Island of New Zealand. And I was working down there and really loved the work. It was quite intensive work. I had to travel down there every week and all of that. Um, but what happened was I left at the end of that consultancy work, went and did training and coaching and mental fitness and all of that, and then went back to that same workplace to work with the same people, but this time in a coaching capacity rather than a consultant capacity.
mm,
And what I saw was, which really surprised me, was that the location was the same, the people were the same, everything was familiar, and yet I felt completely different.
mhm,
And that's how I really saw change. It was like, like inside, there
mm,
wasn't all the noise and all the overwhelm. And I just felt calmer, more confident, more grounded. So it made it a completely different experience. So it was like, stepping into a familiar room, but the whole room's been repainted.
mm,
So it was it's those moments in time when I'm able to see, things have changed.
mm.
And, and then so when things come up and there's kind of an emotional reaction or something, you think, oh, I feel different.
I love that story. Again, like you're going back to the same place, but you're a different person. Um, and I think a lot of us can relate to that in many different ways. And but then it's then taking that next step in that and not just going, oh yeah, yeah, that's a different thing, and then just carrying on. But it's like, that moment of recognition and maybe even celebration that, I've actually, all the work I put in to growing myself, as you said earlier, personal growth, and that it is actually making a difference. I mean, I've been on that journey for decades and that, and sometimes I'm kind of, is this stuff working? You know, I'm still feeling this way and that way. And then there's these moments where there's like, oh yes, this is working. This is. And then when the going gets tough for the next stage of that journey in my life, I can then go, yeah, I'm gonna stick to it and keep doing that. So does that, you're experiencing something similar?
Yeah, exactly like you're saying. And I mean, it's like you said earlier with the mental fitness, how the stress still comes up, but you can deal with it much quicker. It doesn't go into
Mm,
days and weeks or months. and likewise, another way that I saw this was with a relationship that was complex and difficult. And a similar thing happened where I'd been relating to this person, hadn't seen them for a while, probably by choice, if I'm honest. And then saw them again, and I thought, oh, I haven't got all that emotional reaction that I used to have when I was around this person. So
Mm.
again, same situation, same people, and I felt different on the inside.
Mm.
So that's how I really see mental fitness playing out on a
Mm.
daily basis and shortening that gap, like you talk about.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. And also love what you said about enjoying the journey, because this life for me, like it's a journey. And in my own life earlier on, and I see that in a lot of people, it's like they're so focused on the destination. And then they get there and yeah, and then okay, so what do I do now? It's like, oh, back on another journey, and then you get there and then I got the new car, I got the new job, I got this, I got that, and then back, and then that very easily gets us on that hamster wheel of just ongoing trying to get somewhere. And for me, life's a journey. It's a game, and life's a joke. So why not have as much fun as we can along the way? So thank you for mentioning that. Um, any other story from your life, or if it could be again back as a kid or anywhere where you just had a moment of just achieved something amazing because you had that courage. Like some people go, I really didn't want to do that bungee jump, but I did that bungee jump. And it takes mental fitness to get out there and jump off a bridge with something strapped to your legs. And any other story from anywhere in your life where you did something
Yeah.
out of the
Oh,
ordinary that
yeah.
required mental fitness?
Um, I got a couple. Shall I let you choose which one you hear?
Oh, you can do
I
both.
think you might have heard them before. So, one is about overcoming my rat phobia, and the other one is joining a choir.
I think do both. You can do them both quickly. They're both great
Can do them
stories.
both quickly. Okay, so I've always been afraid of rats and vermin, as have I think every woman in my family. So it was very much learned behavior as well as experienced.
Mhm.
My first date with my husband, who we've now been married 40 years, but my first date with him, we had a picnic down by Hamilton Lake. And while we were having our picnic, a rat ran across the grass, whereupon I screamed and stood on the table. He could not stop laughing. He thought that only happened in cartoons because his mother does not have a rat phobia. But anyway, he married me anyway, thankfully. So, and then I had sons, and my sons wanted a pet mouse. And so I decided that I needed to do something about, like, you don't show fear around sons, right? Or it gets worse. So they take advantage of your fear. So I decided I wanted to overcome that. And for me, it was a little bit like cognitive behavioral therapy sort of stuff, but I didn't know any of that. All I was doing was trying to overcome my fear. So I would take them down to the pet shop, and I would stand at the doorway and look across where I could see rats in a cage. That's how it started. And that was 35 years ago. Um, and then it moved to eventually us getting pet mice. So I gradually got closer and closer and closer looking at the rats, and then I got to the point where I could hold a mouse, and then I held a rat, and then these days I love conservation efforts and am involved in predator control in my local reserve because I love birds. And this is something I said, I want to help. How can I help this reserve? And they said, oh, we really need someone to look after one of the trap lines. So now, more recently, that's what I've been doing. And that involves picking up steered vermin out of traps. So I've taken it to a whole other level. And when I went there for the first time, and I saw one, I absolutely screamed. And there was a lovely elderly gentleman showing me the trap line, and he nearly had heart failure. So we had an arrangement that if he heard screams coming from a local reserve, he'd just check the roster before he dialed 111 and make sure it wasn't me on. But anyway, when I first started doing that, my heart was racing and I was so anxious and so stressed. And I really had a good opportunity there to apply mental fitness. So I'd just do the breathing and do some of the mental fitness exercises, and then I'd be able to open the trap and get the vermin out.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that story. That's just a wonderful, really practical example. I love that, and meeting our fear, meeting your fear in that. So thank you, thank you. Like, give us the one about the choir as well.
Oh, okay. So the choir, I have a bit of a technical background, and not an arts background as much. So, um, and many years ago, I went with my girlfriends to a school reunion, and they had a choir that was just for the reunion. And my girlfriend, who's very musical and the director of a choir, she's amazing, she said, "Oh, let's go in the choir." So I went in the choir just for that weekend and really, really enjoyed it. And I thought, gosh, I might like to join a choir. Now, don't misunderstand me. I don't have a lot of talent when it comes to singing. I enjoy hearing singing. Most of my singing happens in the shower. So it's not something that's familiar to me. So anyway, it took a long time before I actually got around to joining a choir. It was one of those little things that I'd hear that there was a local community choir. Oh, I should do that. And it went on for years and years and years without me taking any action on it. And then again, as part of coaching and working on my mental fitness and self-improvement and all of that, I thought, why have I got these things in my life that I'm not taking action on? And choir was one of them. So I joined our local community choir, and the first time I went there and heard everybody singing, I had tears streaming down my face, and I thought, this is just such a good thing to actually take action, to get your mind to a place where you can actually act on these things instead of just having, oh, one day I'll do that, or I wish I was, or whatever. Um, and so that has been a really big journey for me again, because I don't feel very talented in that area. And so it does not come easy to me at all. I find it quite a stressful activity. However, it's very rewarding to do something that's so uncomfortable in a strange way, and meeting lots of lovely people and having amazing experiences. Last year, our choir went in the World Choir Games, so I've won a medal in the World Choir Games with my choir now. So it's gone from just, I mean, it's crazy to think about. And of course, I could never have done that by myself. It's all about community and, stepping outside the comfort zone.
Um, Congratulations, on
Thank you.
taking, even though it might have taken years and years. But again, it for me, it's like, yeah, as our mental fitness grows, we are more likely to step out and do those things that we know we want to do. We know it's good for us, but there's just too much stuff, mental stuff that is holding us back. And being an ex-singing coach and priding myself with teaching people who can't sing to sing because I was one of them. The resistance that people have to that is just incredible, like I had myself. So it's a great, great, great thing to do.
Yeah, I didn't
And
tell you that the first thing I did was get an audio book from the library and like how to sing because I had no idea.
so you did your homework. That's great.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. Excellent. So, moving on, the next question I have for you, Cheryl, is share with our audience one or two, or like a couple of tools that help you to grow your mental fitness. It can be books, it can be courses you've done, it can be routines you have, it can be absolutely anything. Just to inspire those people listening to think for themselves what they could do to go and start growing their mental fitness in a conscious way.
Okay, so it's been, like I said, this has always been an interest for me. So I've been to lots of courses, read lots of books, lots of just constant for me. So it's pretty hard to narrow it down to a single thing because there's been so many different shape practices that have shaped who I am today.
Mm,
So when I really think about um, ones that have been kind of pivotal. Um, One would be starting to journal. So
mm,
that, and that really helped me with reflection. So, like I said, back in the day, I used to have awareness. So when I first started journaling, I'd have more awareness. These days, it's kind of morphed into more reflection and questions than back then. I used to just write down what I was feeling. Nowadays, I kind of think, oh, that's interesting. So what?
mm,
Um, so that's been really made a big change for me, and that's a practice I've done for many years.
mm,
Um, the other one that's been really helpful is something called nonviolent communication.
mm,
Um, and the reason that's been really helpful for me is because it's really helped me figure out what my feelings and needs are because I haven't found it easy to identify those. So, and it puts, helps me think about them, put some labels on them, and then use them for good. So, in situations where I have an emotional response to something or someone said something or whatever, to be able to think about why am I reacting in that way and to put some feelings and needs around that. And then to take it the next step, which is to then communicate that firstly with myself. So I journal it in the beginning, and then, if necessary, with others. So that's been a huge change for me because in the past I would have kept all of that inside.
mm,
So it gave
mm.
me a vehicle to be able to speak to others more effectively.
Right. Beautiful way of putting it. So NVC, as we call it, because it's hard to say non-violent communication is too long
it
one. Do you know if that's international or is it a New Zealand thing?
is. It
It is
is.
international. So for our international audience, look, I haven't done it myself, but my wife and I know a number of people in our circle of influence and friends who have done that and also who've been heavily involved in it and become trainers in it as well. So it's very popular for like for some people and really valuable thing to do. So thank you for sharing that and also the journaling. Um, so I have over the decades met a lot of people who found journaling really, really valuable, and I understand that, and that's definitely something I'm happy to encourage people to do if it works for them. I'm not one
Yeah.
of those, but I am. So journaling, I've tried that a number of times. It just doesn't work for me. But then when I'm thinking about it, I get to express myself a lot through writing. So not only have I written several books, but also several guides and tons of posts and articles and that. So it's not quite journaling, but it's just, I find it for myself, it's just a way for me to get things out of the mind. And I think, and you can correct me in this, is that part of the value of journaling is to take things out of the brain and just get it out. So it's like expressed. Like if you go out and you dance and you scream it or sing it or whatever, is another way of doing it. Journaling is just a way of getting out. And it reminds me of what is it that they do in the Harry Potter? They got the magic wand and then they just pull the memories out and store them somewhere. Oh, that one, yeah, we'll keep that one over there. Oh, yeah, oh no, okay, that one back in, yeah. Unfortunately, I can't do that, but does that make sense with the journaling?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's certainly been the case for me. So I combine these two. So I write down using the NVC format. So, the situation that I observe is and write it down. The feelings that come up in me are write it down. The needs that generated these feelings are, and then, if I was to express this is what I really want to say, and write that down as well. And then often that's enough for me. Like, I don't have to go to the person and express it, because it was actually about what was happening inside of me rather than more than what was happening with them.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, so you're exactly right. Getting it on papers really helps me a
Yeah.
lot.
And it's very powerful, Cheryl, in that way that once you got stuff out, then there's less of a need to then communicate that to others. But it also becomes clear is, does this need to be communicated? And sometimes it needs to be communicated, but now it's coming from a different level of clarity. It's not just out of a reaction to a situation. It's more out of a contemplation. And yeah, instead of reaction, it becomes action, I think would be a different way of putting it.
That's exactly it. That's a good way of putting it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool. So we got to our last question today, which is always the same, which is about transformation. I love transformation. Change is good, but I would take transformation any day. So whatever that word means to you, share with our audience one of like an experience of transformation in your life.
Yeah, thank you. So it's great to talk about this. I again did a lot of thinking about this, and I thought that journey that I've talked about of always wanting to improve myself and always wanting to be a better person, that the change really came from acknowledging or having awareness to actually doing something about it, effectively doing something about it.
Hmm.
That changed one day when I thought, I am going to put myself on project status. I read this in a book, Put Yourself on Project Status. It was about 20 years ago, and I remember it very distinctly. I remember where I was and who I was with that day. And I was journaling. I thought, this is what I need to do. I need to actually start doing things differently. So you can read all the books in the world, you can go to all the courses in the world, unless you actually put this into practice, it's ineffective. And that was the day that I started changing, because I actually started thinking, okay, just like that MVC, like, it's one thing to have all these feelings and needs whirring around and being upset with people and all of that. But until I actually figured out, how am I going to communicate this effectively with people and talk to them about what really the problem is? Not, oh, I'm upset with you, or you've stressed me, or whatever. Just actually being proactive. And instead of wanting others to change, put the focus on me. What can I do differently?
Hmm.
So, yeah, because a lot of that time back then, it was all about thinking others were wrong and I was right, but that wasn't true at all.
Yeah, of course they're wrong. We know that.
I went for a bike ride yesterday, and on the way home, I saw this woman walking, and she had on the back of her t-shirt, 1% better every day. And I thought, that's it. That's exactly it. That's what putting yourself on project status, 1% better every day makes change over the long term.
It's going to make a big change
Yeah.
over time. And I've never heard that term before. Put yourself on project status. I like that. That's a good thing, I think, to finish on today and leave that with our audience is no, go and put yourself on project status on particularly those things that you might have been procrastinating a little bit on, like getting onto that choir or go and help out with conservation and meet some rats and whatever it is for you. We all have it, me included. So you've inspired me to put myself more on project status today, Cheryl. So thank you so much for coming on and so openly share about your journey, your life journey, your growth journey. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks so much.
And thank you, of course, to our audience for coming along today as well
Yeah.
and listening into this episode. I hope there was something there for you to take with you into your life. So it's not just theory, it is actually in life itself. And then let's go with what Cheryl said early on. Why not enjoy the journey? Because we are on it, whether we like it or not. So happy journeying. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success. If you have stories of how mental fitness has benefited you that you are happy to share, go to my website, mikael.nz, click on podcast and fill in the guest application form. If you want direct support from me utilizing my 40 years of mental fitness learning and practice, email me at coach@mikael.nz or message me on LinkedIn. Any feedback, review, share, follow, like, or any other good stuff is of course appreciated. Thank you for listening to Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success podcast. I'm your host, Mikael Nielsen.